October 1962. The world is 13 days from nuclear war. American spy planes photographed Soviet missile sites in Cuba, nuclear weapons 90 miles from Florida. President Kennedy faces an impossible choice: attack and risk World War III, or do nothing and let Soviet missiles aim at American cities. But here's what most people don't know. Kennedy had help. Secret help. Intelligence from inside the Kremlin itself. Photos of Soviet weapons, technical specifications, details of Soviet military weakness. Information that would help Kennedy call Khrushchev's bluff and avoid nuclear holocaust. That intelligence came from one man, a Soviet colonel named Oleg Penkovsky. For 18 months, he passed thousands of documents to the CIA and MI6. He photographed top-secret files. He risked his life and his family's lives to stop a war. And then, one day, he vanished. This is the story of the spy who saved the world and paid the ultimate price. Welcome to Archive of Witnesses. Every witness deserves to be remembered, even the ones who died in secret. Oleg Vladimirovich Penkovsky, born 1919. A decorated war hero, he fought the Nazis, survived Stalingrad, rose through the ranks of Soviet military intelligence. By 1960, he's a colonel working for the GRU, Soviet military intelligence. He has access, missile specifications, nuclear capabilities, Soviet military strategy. To the outside world, he's a loyal Soviet officer, trusted, respected. But inside, he's drowning in doubt. He's seen Stalin's purges, the show trials, the executions, friends disappearing in the night. He's seen Khrushchev threaten the West. "We will bury you," Khrushchev says. Penkovsky knows the truth. The Soviet Union isn't as strong as it claims. The nuclear arsenal is smaller than Moscow pretends. The missiles are less accurate. But Khrushchev keeps threatening, pushing, bluffing. And Penkovsky realizes something. This bluff could start a war no one can win. So he makes a decision that will change everything. August 1960, Moscow, Gorky Park. Penkovsky walks through the crowded park, families everywhere, couples holding hands. He approaches two American students, tourists. He introduces himself in English. They chat about Moscow, about America. It seems like a friendly conversation. Then Penkovsky hands them an envelope. "Give this to the American embassy," he says quietly. "It's important." The students are confused, but take the envelope. Penkovsky walks away quickly. Inside the envelope is a letter, addressed to the CIA, offering to spy for the United States. The students bring it to the embassy. The CIA reads it and thinks it's a trap, the KGB testing them. So they ignore it. Penkovsky tries again. Different people, different locations. Each time he's turned away. The CIA doesn't trust him. The British don't trust him. For months, he tries to make contact. For months, he's rejected. But Penkovsky doesn't give up because he knows what's at stake. Finally, in April 1961, British intelligence agrees to meet him. They send Greville Wynne, a British businessman who travels to Moscow regularly. The perfect cover. The meeting happens in a Moscow hotel room. Penkovsky brings documents, proof, real Soviet military secrets. The British realize something. This isn't a trap. This is real. The spy who would save the world has finally made contact. April 1961. Penkovsky begins his double life. By day, he's a Soviet colonel, attending meetings, reading classified documents, acting completely normal. By night, he's a spy, photographing files with a miniature camera, hiding film in cigarette packs, meeting his handlers in secret locations. The CIA and MI6 give him the codename Hero. It fits. Penkovsky doesn't just provide information, he provides everything. Photos of Soviet missiles, details of nuclear warheads, military deployment plans, technical manuals, names of KGB agents operating in the West. He uses a Minox camera, tiny enough to hide in his palm. He photographs hundreds of pages each week. In his apartment, while his wife and daughter sleep, he works by lampshade, turning pages, clicking the camera, sweating with fear. Every document he copies could get him executed. Every photo could destroy his family. But he keeps going. His handlers are amazed. In 18 months, Penkovsky provides over 5,000 photographs, more than 10,000 pages of intelligence. It's the greatest intelligence coup of the Cold War. But the pressure is destroying him. He's constantly watched, the KGB is everywhere. One mistake, and it's over. He starts to drink heavily, to cope with the stress, to quiet the fear that never leaves. His handlers warn him to slow down. You're taking too many risks, they say. Penkovsky ignores them. There's no time, he says. War is coming. I have to do this. He's right about one thing. Time is running out. The intelligence Penkovsky provides isn't just valuable. It's world-changing. He photographs a Soviet R-12 missile manual. Complete specifications. Range, payload, launch procedures, everything. When American U-2 spy planes photographed missile sites in Cuba in October 1962, CIA analysts recognized them immediately because Penkovsky already gave them the blueprints. They know exactly what they're looking at, how dangerous the missiles are, how long it takes to make them operational. This knowledge is critical. Kennedy needs to know if he has time to negotiate or if he must attack immediately. Penkovsky's intelligence gives him that answer. The missiles aren't ready yet. There's time for diplomacy. But Penkovsky provides something even more important. He reveals Soviet military weakness. The missile gap everyone fears? It doesn't exist. The Soviets have far fewer ICBMs than they claim. Their military stretched thin. Their technology lags behind American capabilities. Khrushchev is bluffing, and now Kennedy knows it. This emboldens Kennedy during the Cuban Missile Crisis. He can push back. He can call the bluff. On October 22nd, Kennedy addresses the nation. He reveals the missiles in Cuba. He demands their removal. He orders a naval blockade. The world holds its breath. Nuclear war seems inevitable. But Kennedy knows something Khrushchev doesn't. He knows the truth about Soviet weakness. And on October 28th, Khrushchev blinks. He agrees to remove the missiles. The crisis ends. Nuclear war is avoided. Historians later call it the closest humanity has ever come to annihilation. And the man who helped prevent it is sitting in Moscow, waiting for the knock on his door he knows is coming. The KGB is always watching, always listening. In the Soviet Union, paranoia isn't paranoia, it's reality. The KGB has millions of informants, neighbors watching neighbors, colleagues reporting colleagues, even family members turning in family members. Penkovsky knows this. He's careful, extremely careful. He varies his routes, changes his meeting locations, never uses the same dead drop twice. But the KGB is patient and suspicious. In the summer of 1962, they notice something, a pattern. Greville Wynne, the British businessman, visits Moscow regularly. Nothing unusual about that. He's in the import-export business. But KGB surveillance notices something. Wynne keeps meeting with Soviet officials, including Colonel Penkovsky. Business meetings, they claim, trade discussions. The KGB isn't convinced. They begin intensive surveillance, following Wynne everywhere, following Penkovsky everywhere. They tap phones. They open mail. They photograph everyone both men meet with. Penkovsky senses the net closing. His handlers sense it too. You need to defect, they tell him. We can get you out, get you to London, you and your family. Penkovsky refuses. My family won't leave. My daughter is engaged. My wife won't abandon her life. And if I leave, they'll be arrested, interrogated, possibly killed. Then stop spying, his handlers say. At least for now, let the heat die down. But Penkovsky can't stop, won't stop. Every day I don't provide information is a day the world moves closer to war, he says. So he keeps photographing documents, keeps passing film, keeps risking everything. And the KGB keeps watching, waiting for proof, waiting for the moment to strike. Pause. October 22nd, 1962. The same day Kennedy addresses the nation about Cuba. Moscow, late evening. Penkovsky is at home with his family. Dinner is over. His daughter is studying, his wife is reading. Everything seems normal. Then he hears it. Heavy footsteps in the hallway. Multiple men. A loud knock on the door, the kind of knock you can't ignore. Penkovsky's blood turns to ice. He knows what this means. His wife opens the door. KGB officers push past her into the apartment. Oleg Vladimirovich Penkovsky, you are under arrest for treason against the Soviet Union. They tear apart the apartment, looking for evidence. They find the Minox camera hidden in the book, film canisters in a false bottom drawer, cipher pads taped under furniture. Everything. They find everything. Penkovsky doesn't resist. There's no point. He knows he's been caught. His wife is screaming. His daughter is crying. They don't understand what's happening. The KGB drag him out of his apartment, into a waiting car. The last time he'll ever see his family. The same night, the KGB arrests Grivol Wynn in Budapest. They've been coordinating the arrests, making sure no one escapes. Both men are thrown into Lubyanka prison, the infamous KGB headquarters in Moscow. A building many people enter. Few people leave. In the basement cells, Penkovsky sits in darkness, alone, waiting for what comes next. He knows what comes next. Everyone knows what happens to traitors in Lubyanka. Pause. Lubyanka prison, October 1962. The interviews begin immediately. KGB officers work in shifts, 24 hours a day, breaking Penkovsky down piece by piece. Who are your handlers, they demand. What did you give them? Who else is working with you? Penkovsky says nothing. For days, he says nothing. They beat him, deprive him of sleep, keep the lights on constantly, the temperature too cold, then too hot. Psychological torture, physical torture. Still, Penkovsky resists, trying to protect his handlers, trying to protect other agents in the network. But everyone breaks eventually. Everyone. After 2 weeks, Penkovsky starts to talk. He admits to spying for Britain in America. He admits to photographing documents, but he doesn't give them everything. He protects some names, changes some details, buys time for agents to escape. The KGB doesn't care about the details. They already know most of it. They've been watching for months. What they want is a confession for the show trial that's coming. And they get it. Penkovsky signs a confession, admitting treason, admitting espionage, admitting everything. Meanwhile, in the West, the CIA and MI6 are in panic mode. How much did Penkovsky reveal under torture? How many networks are compromised? How many agents need to be extracted immediately? They scramble to protect their people, to evacuate sources, to secure operations. Grivol Wynn sits in his own cell, also being interrogated, also being broken. Both men know what's coming. The show trial, the propaganda spectacle, the inevitable verdict, and then execution. May 7th, 1963, Moscow. The Supreme Court of the Soviet Union. The show trial begins. These aren't real trials. Everyone knows it. The verdict is decided before the trial starts. The trial is theater, propaganda. The courtroom is packed with journalists, party officials, and KGB officers. This will be broadcast, publicized, a warning to anyone who might betray the motherland. Penkovsky is brought in. He looks terrible, gaunt, pale. His hands shake. Greville Wynne is tried alongside him. The two men don't make eye contact. The prosecutor reads the charges: treason, espionage, betrayal of state secrets. The evidence is presented: photographs of the Minox camera, the cipher pads, copies of the documents Penkovsky photographed. Penkovsky's lawyer offers no real defense. He can't. The confession has already been signed. The prosecutor gives a dramatic speech. This traitor sold out his country to the imperialist enemy. He endangered the Soviet people. He deserves the harshest punishment. The judge asks Penkovsky if he has anything to say. Penkovsky stands. His voice is quiet, defeated. I am guilty of everything I'm accused of, he says. I betrayed my country. I deserve punishment. Some historians later wonder if he was drugged. His demeanor is too compliant, too broken. The verdict is announced: guilty on all charges. The sentence for Penkovsky: death by firing squad. The sentence for Wynne: 8 years in prison. Wynne is British. Executing him would cause an international incident, so they spare him. He'll be traded later in a spy swap. But Penkovsky is Soviet. No one will save him. The court adjourns. Penkovsky is led away, back to Lubyanka, to wait for his execution date. May 16, 1963, 9 days after the trial. The exact details of Penkovsky's execution remain classified, even today. The official Soviet report says he was executed by firing squad, standard procedure for traitors. But rumors persist, dark rumors. Some KGB defectors later claim Penkovsky was burned alive in a furnace as a message to other potential traitors to show what happens when you betray the Soviet Union. Others say he was tied to a board and slowly pushed into a crematorium furnace while still conscious, forced to watch his own death approaching. No one knows for certain. The Soviets never released details. They never released his body to his family. What we do know is this. On May 16, 1963, Oleg Penkovsky ceased to exist. He was 44 years old. His family was destroyed. His wife was ostracized. His daughter's engagement was broken. They lived under constant surveillance and suspicion for years. In the West, his death was mourned quietly. The CIA and MI6 couldn't publicly acknowledge him, not yet. Spy networks had to be protected. But privately they knew. Penkovsky had given them the intelligence that helped avoid World War III. He had saved millions of lives, and it cost him everything. Let's go back to October 1962. To understand just how critical Penkovsky's intelligence was. When Kennedy's advisors see the U-2 photos of missiles in Cuba, they immediately recognize them because Penkovsky had photographed the exact same missiles months earlier. They know the R-12 missiles range, 1,200 miles, enough to hit Washington, New York, and most major American cities. They know how long it takes to make them operational, 7 days minimum. This tells them they have time. Not much, but enough to try diplomacy before resorting to military action. Kennedy's military advisors push for immediate airstrikes, for invasion. They want to destroy the missiles before they're ready. But Kennedy hesitates. He knows from Penkovsky's intelligence that Khrushchev is bluffing about Soviet military superiority. The Soviets are weaker than they appear.
This emboldens Kennedy to try a blockade instead of an attack, to give Khrushchev a face-saving way to back down. For 13 days, the world teeters on the brink. American and Soviet forces are on highest alert. Nuclear submarines patrol the Atlantic. Bomber crews sit in their planes, ready to launch. One mistake, one miscalculation, one trigger-happy officer. That's all it would take. But Kennedy holds firm, and on October 28th, Khrushchev announces the missiles will be removed from Cuba. The crisis is over. Years later, Kennedy's defense secretary Robert McNamara admitted something. Without Penkovsky's intelligence, Kennedy might have ordered airstrikes, and those airstrikes would likely have triggered Soviet retaliation, which would have led to nuclear war. Penkovsky saved the world, and at the moment of his greatest triumph, he was sitting in a prison cell, being tortured for his efforts.
Why did he do it? Why did Oleg Penkovsky risk everything? This is the question intelligence historians have debated for decades. He wasn't motivated by money. The CIA paid him, but he rarely touched the funds. He wasn't defecting. He insisted on staying in the Soviet Union, even when offered escape. Some say it was ideology, that he became disillusioned with communism after seeing Stalin's purges and Khrushchev's recklessness. Some say it was personal. His father had been labeled an enemy of the people. Maybe Penkovsky harbored resentment against the system that destroyed his family's reputation. But Penkovsky's own words suggest something else. In letters to his handlers, he wrote, "I cannot stand by and watch the world sleepwalk into nuclear war. Someone has to tell the truth about Soviet capabilities. Someone has to stop the madness." He believed Khrushchev's bluffing would eventually provoke the West into a preemptive strike, and he believed millions would die because of it. So he decided to act, to provide the intelligence that would prevent that outcome. In one letter, he wrote, "I know what will happen to me if I'm caught, but if my actions prevent even one nuclear weapon from being used, my life is a small price to pay." He was right about what would happen to him, and he was right about the value of his sacrifice. Penkovsky wasn't a traitor seeking personal gain. He was a man who saw the apocalypse coming and decided to step in front of it, even if it meant stepping into his own grave. Today, Oleg Penkovsky is remembered differently in different places. In Russia, he remains a controversial figure. Some still view him as a traitor. Others see him as a man who prevented nuclear war. In 2000, the Russian government quietly rehabilitated him, not publicly, but in official records, in acknowledgement that perhaps his actions, while illegal, served a greater good. In the West, he's honored. In 2007, a memorial plaque was unveiled in London. It reads, "To the memory of Oleg Penkovsky, who gave his life to avert nuclear war." The CIA headquarters in Langley has a secret memorial, stars on a wall representing officers who died in service. One of those stars is for Penkovsky. Though his name isn't written next to it, those in the know understand which star is his. Spy novelists have written books about him. Filmmakers have made movies. His story has become legend in intelligence circles. But perhaps the most fitting tribute came from a former CIA director who said, "Penkovsky was the spy who saved the world, and the world never knew his name." For decades, his story was classified, his sacrifice unknown. His family suffered in obscurity. Now, finally, the world knows. The man who prevented nuclear war. The colonel who betrayed his country to save humanity. Some call him a hero. Some call him a traitor. History calls him both. And history is grateful he existed. October 1962. The world came within hours of nuclear war. Today, most people remember Kennedy's leadership during the Cuban Missile Crisis. They remember Khrushchev backing down. They remember the tense standoff that ended peacefully. But few people remember Oleg Penkovsky, the Soviet colonel who made that peaceful ending possible. He knew the risks. He knew what would happen if he was caught, and he did it anyway. For 18 months, he lived a double life. Soviet officer by day, spy by night. Every document he photographed could have gotten him killed. Every meeting with his handlers put his family at risk. But he kept going, because he believed stopping a nuclear war was worth any price. In May 1963, he paid that price. Executed in secret, erased from history. His family was persecuted. His name was forbidden. His sacrifice remained classified for decades, but the intelligence he provided changed everything. It helped Kennedy navigate the most dangerous crisis in human history. It helped prevent World War III. Historians estimate that a nuclear exchange between the Soviet Union and United States in 1962 would have killed between 200 and 400 million people in the first hours, perhaps billions more in the nuclear winter that followed. Oleg Penkovsky's intelligence helped prevent that outcome. One man, one decision, millions of lives saved. This is why Archive of Witnesses exists, to preserve stories like this, the complicated ones, the classified ones, the ones where the hero dies in secret and the world goes on, never knowing what was prevented. Penkovsky reminds us that history isn't just made by presidents and generals. Sometimes it's made by a colonel with a miniature camera, photographing documents in the middle of the night, knowing he's signing his own death warrant. Sometimes the greatest heroes are the ones we never hear about, until decades later, when the files are finally opened and the truth emerges. If this story moved you, subscribe to Archive of Witnesses. We bring you untold stories from World War II, Cold War espionage, and ancient warriors. The accounts that history tried to bury. Hit the notification bell. And in the comments, tell us what you think. Was Oleg Penkovsky a hero or a traitor? Can you betray your country to save the world? Share this story, because Oleg Penkovsky died in secret, but his sacrifice deserves to be remembered. Until next time, remember this: history is written by those brave enough to live it, and sometimes by those brave enough to die for it.